So my name is Luke Treacy. I've been introduced. So I'm the General Manager of Dublin Coding School. I did my MBA at Imperial College London and studied Artificial Intelligence at MIT and Digital Marketing Strategies at Oxford. So who are Dublin Coding School? So we're a tech education provider based here in Dublin. And what we're doing is we're training adults who would like to change their careers. So generally, not kids if you like, but generally people who've had a few jobs in one area and want to change and work in another area. Now look, we've got schools across Europe. So we've got a school here in Dublin, open for the last 2 years, but we also have schools in Lithuania, Latvia and the Czech Republic. So and we offer services in those schools as well. So in fact, if you've studied at one of our schools, we can try and help you out in other areas. So it's worth bearing in mind. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But what I'm here to talk about today is a career in tech. Where do I begin? So a lot of people would call up our school and sort of say, hi there, I'd like to work in IT. We kind of say, okay, let's have a chat about that. And what I always say to them is, that's a bit like saying you want to play sport. But then you have to kind of figure out what sport do you want to play. And that can come down to a lot of different things, like someone might be better at tennis. If a really tall person comes in, you might say, well, let's go for basketball, that kind of thing. And it can come down to, when you're talking about a career in tech as well, personality types. Are you analytical? Do you like solving problems? Are you creative? Do you like creating things? Do you like design? Or do you like building things? Are you a really good communicator, or do you like to work alone? So there's quite different people are drawn to different types of jobs. And you should really think this is more than just doing a course for 6 months or a few months. Think, I'm going to be working in this area for 5 to 10 years. I better really like it, or else it won't work at all. So before I get into the exact jobs that are there, I'm going to talk a little bit about how tech companies are organized and how each of these different career paths fit together in the working world. So obviously, there's sales, there's marketing, and customer success in tech companies. So we're not going to talk about those much today. You know what they are. That's selling, marketing, and checking out how the customers are doing. There's also IT customer support. So that's kind of a route in the tech world. Sometimes they want some more technical skills there. And that is sometimes a really good route in. And we do get quite a few people who've worked in customer support coming to our school saying, I've had a look around this company. I'd like to move into this department. Can you help me out with some hard skills, and we can help out. But I'm going to talk about the other departments today. So the ones I'm going to talk about are UX UI design, which stands for user experience and user interface design. Don't worry if you don't know what that means yet. I'm just going to go through it now in a moment. Web development and software engineering. So that's a big area. That's a really popular area. Then quality assurance and testing. Data analytics, and you've just had about half an hour of this, but cybersecurity. So it was great that they mentioned that people need training, because I suppose that's what I'm here to talk about too. But I'm going to talk about each of these and how they interact with each other in the industry. So if we were to talk maybe in construction terms, now this is just a bit of an analogy, but if we were to talk about the construction industry, and I mean like building houses, all the cranes around here, we might think of our UX UI designers as our architects. So they're designing what this website would look like and why. I'll get into how they do it in a moment, but we're going to talk maybe about a website here, that type of thing. They'd then hand over those designs to the web development team who we talked about. They've got to build it. They're building it. Their building blocks it's code, right? And then once that's done, it needs to be tested. So in the construction world, we're talking about structural engineers. Is this building going to fall down? Is it safe? Is it built to standards? So your software testers are testing the website for that type of thing. Your data analysts, well, they're extracting data, analyzing it, seeing how everything's running. They're your quantity surveyors. And cybersecurity, of course, are the security guards about the place. Maybe a bit more high level than that, but for this analogy, that's who they are. We'll get into each one now. So let's have a little look at this one. So probably a website you all know, or an app you all know, the Amazon website. So those teams are really involved in the management of this website. You might have thought, if you think about it, it needed to first be designed. It then needed to be built, then it needed to be tested, and the results need to be analyzed. Everything you click on Amazon is analyzed by that company. If people stop clicking on a certain button, you'll find next month it disappears because they're analyzing it, they're checking on it. They need data analysts to be pulling that data turning it into images, going to the managers, going, I've seen something happen on the website or whatever. And of course, it needs to be protected. You've got your credit cards on there, so you have a whole team protecting. Imagine if there was a data leak at Amazon. It's a big problem for Jeff Bezos, isn't it? So he has to have a cybersecurity team there. So they're the tech teams he's got running this whole operation, and they're all interacting with each other. And as I said, he's got a UX designer designing this. So they might look at the website and say, how are people over 60 interacting with this? Should we put the buttons here or here? In what color? A lot of thought goes into that. It's not just, I like blue. They will have asked a lot of people, what button should that be? What will calm people down? Should it be at the top or the bottom or the left or the right? I'm not a UX designer, but they will really get into this and have solid answers for why everything is in the places that they are. Then, of course, the web developers are building it. Then they're testing that, where are the flaws, whatever. There's a great career in testing, actually, which I'll get into. And then the data analysts are pulling all that data and checking things out. If Jeff Bezos storms into the office and goes, tell me how many red jumpers were sold at Christmas, some data analyst has to run away, pull that data, come back and go, here you go, Mr. Bezos. This is how many. And there's a great career in data analytics, of course. And then cybersecurity, which you've heard a lot about today. I'll go into the banking example. So, we actually have a few lecturers from Bank of Ireland. We have the UX UI design lead as one of our lecturers for our UX design course there. And we have a couple of people from their data analytics team lecturing with us. But we'll talk about maybe a bit about how banking has changed. So if you think about the past, you used to, if you're maybe as old as me, I had to go down to the bank physically and they would close at lunchtime, just lock their doors. You couldn't get in. Knock on the door, like, can I come in, please? They close at 4 o'clock, that's it, no more transactions. Maybe they open at 10 o'clock. But nowadays it's completely different, isn't it? They've got an app which has been designed, a website designed. When you go to that app, you've got to go through some hurdles. The cybersecurity team have put a lot of thought into this. You need this PIN, maybe you need your thumbprint or whatever it is. And then, of course, the cybersecurity team would have told the design team, these are the things we need to put on that app. Then the design team have to design it in such a way that people can use it while still going through those same kind of processes to log in. The web developers then build it. So as you can see, all these jobs are linking together. And you need to be thinking to yourself, which one would I like to be doing? Do I want to design something and be researching with people how they use products? Or do I want to be building something and be a really intense coder? Or do I want to be testing things like a detective? Or a cybersecurity person like a spy? Or, which are you drawn to? Or are you analytical like the data analyst? But it's really interesting actually how banking has changed. So if we go back to one of the first banks, and if you like cowboy movies like me and Billy the Kid, but of course, Billy the Kid wasn't a bank robber. He was more of an outlaw. But if you look at these guys in Wells Fargo, what do you think was on their CV? It's probably, can you count? Can you shoot a gun? How strong are you? Whatever. It's all about physical security then. Can you man a safe? Can you ride a horse, a carriage, that type of thing? So that would have been someone in the bank in the past. But nowadays, just like our lecturers, banks are looking for people who are digitally savvy and educated in the digital arts. So it's completely changed. And you can see that they're trying to get rid of people in the physical bank standing there dealing with you. But it's all about now they want data analysts, huge data analytics teams in banks, cybersecurity people, of course. There's web developers in there. There's designers, big design teams. So banking has changed. And look, they're not traditionally a tech company. That's a sector that's not even technology. So you need to think, if companies are using data, and if they have a website, these jobs are there. So it's not just there. Now, I'll look at it. One of our lecturers actually designed this. So this is the Bank of Ireland app. So of course, the cybersecurity team had to put that in, needed to be designed, as I said here, needed to be designed, then built, tested, results analyzed, needs to be protected. And of course, when you talk about the design, I mentioned before, people over 60 using it, can they use it properly? So it needed to be designed in that way. So that's really what the designers are getting into. It's very human-centric design. And they use a process called design thinking, which I'll get into maybe if I have time. So, so here we go. What does a UX designer do? And this is sort of maybe the most non-technical role of all of the roles. You might find that a UX designer isn't coding at all. They're doing mock-ups. And a lot of what they do would be in research. So if you're into doing surveys, user research, building something, having 100 people try it out, get their feedback, then this might be the role for you. I know when I ask UX designers what are the key things that you need to bring to the job, one of them is empathy. You need to really empathize with other people and how they use things and how different people use products, and then try and design those products around that. Now, I'm talking about UX design in tech, but UX designers design anything. I remember I saw a slide once. It's about the doors over there, the hotel door or whatever. One had a handle, but it's actually a push door. And that's a UX design fail because people get the handle and start jerking it around when they should just push it and it should say push. So that's actually an example of UX design. But then if you say, like, how is UX design used on a website? Can you click that? Where does it go? Then what happens? And how easy was that? And if you put in your password wrong, does it go back and give you another chance? Or does it just say it's wrong? And then what do you do then? So all those questions, and then they survey it because the head designer will go, well, that's your opinion. How many people thought that? So they'll have to say, well, it's based on this research. So if all of that sounds interesting to you, then maybe we should have a chat about UX design. Of course, it gets into classical design as well, and using Adobe and that type of thing, or Figma, or various different systems to design things. But that's part of it, the graphic design. But really, the human empathy and the research is really a huge part of it. If we get into web developers, so that is, of course, building websites, creating digital products, apps. These are just, those acronyms are some of the systems they use. Of course, they use so much more. But and when you get into it, it seems daunting. I remember when I started at Dublin Coding School, I'd come from maybe media before, and they started saying all of these different acronyms to me, and I was like, what the heck is that? But you actually do start figuring it out. So a web developer here, HTML, is your building blocks of a website. So they're kind of putting it together. CSS, they're decorating it, putting in their kind of colors, whatever. And then JavaScript makes it dynamic. So they're putting in, so it basically, JavaScript is a bit like the nervous system of a website. So when you click, say, on add to basket in Amazon, the JavaScript will tell it, okay, someone's clicked on add to basket. We better put the number 1 in the basket. We better update that they've put that in there. We better send them an email. So whatever you do, the website does something next. And the JavaScript tells it what to do next, if I'm explaining myself okay. But obviously, if you do a course of this, you'll learn it a lot more in depth from better people than me. But that's generally what a web developer will be doing. Building things, creating things, using these systems. There's terms like the front end and the back end you might have heard people say. Front end basically is just the part of a website you can see, and the back end is the database, the machinery, everything back at the back. It was described to me very good with someone logging into Facebook. So you go to Facebook, you see your login page, that's the front end. It says put in your password. So I go, okay, Luke, here's my password, which is whatever. Then that shoots a message to the back end, which I can't see, all the way to California, and it goes, does this password correspond with this guy? And if it does, it will open up my page. And if the back end says it doesn't, it will say, oops, who are you? So it makes that split decision based on its database back in San Francisco. So that's really the back end. So you get developers who are building the front end, you get other developers who are more on the back end, and then if you get someone called a full stack developer, then they do both. And there's good careers in that. Some web developers, you might be working in a company, in their team, but then as you become more senior, actually, it's a role where you can get into freelancing quite a lot. So you get big gun developers moving around, developing things. I have some good friends who are front-end developers, and they move from project to project. They're always in demand. So there's a good career there, and there's quite a lot of flexibility when you get into it. I did mention testing, and which can also be quality assurance. And that is really testing for bugs, testing for inconsistencies, for mistakes, that type of thing. It becomes a really good, they have a big working relationship with the web developers, because the web developer will be saying, I've just built this. I'm really proud of it. Have a look. And they'll come back and say, I found all these mistakes. So it can be that topsy-turvy relationship. But obviously, when they're working well, it's brilliant. And, if people are into computer games, I'm not. But I do know that when they're released, within seconds, it's all over the internet saying, we found all these mistakes. If you go to level 3, look at this, the door isn't there, or whatever. And of course, that means the QA person hasn't found it, the mistake. Now, you get manual testers. That's where they're writing a program themselves and looking for mistakes specifically. And then you might upskill yourself and become an automation tester. And just in layman's terms, that's writing a bit of code or an algorithm that will go away and test thousands of things for you and come back and tell you. So you're automating it. And sometimes you get testers who will write a bit of test, run it overnight. They're doing so much of it, come back and check the next day. So there's a big career in testing. You can start to being a manual tester, an automation tester, a senior tester. You can become the quality assurance lead for a whole business. And there's a great career path there. And a little tip is, I would say, might be a little less competitive than the other ways, because not everyone runs at the industry and goes, I want to be an automation tester, I want to be in quality assurance. They usually come in saying, I want to be a web developer. So there is a great career path there, and not everyone really knows about it. I'm sure some of you in this room might be hearing it for the first time. Maybe not, but I'd be surprised. Now, data analytics. This is a big area, and it's growing, okay? And there is a great career to be had here. And some of the skills that data analysts have cross over into other jobs as well. You could be a business analyst, even people in marketing. You know, a really good marketing director should really get into analyzing data. Marketing as a job, of course, has changed from, if you watch Mad Men, writing ads, coming up with copy, whatever, good images, to being really data-led and digital. So all that data needs to be analysed. There aren't many companies in the world now who aren't generating data, want to make decisions with data. So the three main skills, anyway, that we train a beginner in data analytics to do, like you're probably thinking, well, what do they actually do when they sit at their desk at 9 a.m.? Well, what they actually do is they need to extract data from a database and turn it into images, and then usually present that to a decision-making team. I'll give you an example. At Bank of Ireland, one of our lecturers was asked to analyse ATMs around the country, you know, the cash machines, to ask which ones are being used the most, which are being used the least, and you know, we want to know where to move the cash at what time, because we don't want all of the money everywhere. So, you know, maybe there's one cash machine that's really heavily used on a Thursday when pensions are paid in Roscommon. Maybe there's one that's not used at all because it's too remote. And maybe so just they wanted to know that type of thing. So this person then had to use a SQL, which is a program, pull all the data from these cash machines. Let's have a look. Get all that data in one place. Then they use Tableau or Power BI, which is another system, to turn that data into an image, pie chart, a graph. If you ever see those in the newspaper, graphs, images, that type of thing, that's someone who's turned data into an image for the journalist to have a look at. It's actually called data journalism, isn't it? Or maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's something like that. But then they'd present it back to the manager in Bank of Ireland and say, because they're not going to show that person all of this data. They just go, what's this? It's just a load of numbers. You know, show me something I can, you know, give it to me in English doc kind of thing. So they'll come back and show them a pie chart, some graphs, and say, here you go, that's Sligo. You can see here we had cash here, whatever, and this is Mayo, and wasn't used much, and this one over here, and maybe, and then they can make a decision based on seeing all this data laid out in these images. And of course, it's the data analyst who's done that. They've pulled all that data, done the hard legwork, turned it into an image, shown it to the management team. And then as you get more senior in data analytics, you're solving problems yourself. You're seeing insights yourself. You're coming in and saying, here you go. There was one, the lecturer made one of the examples he gave was about beer and nappies. And it was, I think, in an American supermarket that saw the correlation between men going into supermarkets who bought nappies always bought beer. And they were dads going in to get nappies, but they'd always buy beer as well. And they saw this correlation. Someone just saw it in the correlation from the till data and said, just put the beer beside the nappies. And then sales just went up again. So that's a real example. I think it's from, what's the big one? Costco. Is it Costco? In America. So that's data analytics. Cybersecurity. So look, you've just had a load of cybersecurity here, but at least maybe half of you have. But that is about fundamentally protecting data, protecting your company's assets, data, cards, whatever. Or your intellectual property online. And there's a great career here. It can be sometimes hard to break into initially, but once you get into cybersecurity and you've been doing it for about 2 years, 5 years, you become a hot commodity where they're fighting over you. They're trying to grab you from, it's like being a head chef, if any of you work in hospitality, okay? In the UK and Ireland right now, you can't get a head chef for love nor money. Hotels are just ripping each other apart, trying to get the few of them that are around. It can be like that in cybersecurity, but it can be tough at the start when you're trying to break in. But if you really stick with it, and once you get that up to 4 years experience, this is a great career, I can tell you. What do they do? Various things. You've probably heard it here from these people here. There's things like cryptography. So you're into, scrambling things, or your WhatsApp message encrypted. Penetration testing and ethical hacking is one. So they said that there. That's where you're testing the vulnerabilities of your own company. You're hacking into your own company. There's a really good example given by one of the last speakers there about sending malicious emails to all your staff without telling them and seeing who clicks on it, and then bringing it into the room and saying, well, it was you who clicked on it. But that of course, that's penetration testing. You're testing the boundaries of your own company. And of course, people do specialize in cybersecurity. There's all those different areas, and people will get really good at one of them. You don't have to be, you just kind of might find the area that you're going to specialize in. And of course, there's other areas like compliance. And if you remember, GDPR came out, maybe some of you do, a few years ago, where it was all about your data and you have the right to your data and they can't take it. And that's great for us, but it's terrible for companies. Now, I'm not saying either way, but I'm just saying the companies then have to say, oh gosh, we've got these people's data now. If there's a leak, the heat's really on, so we've got to protect it. And of course, then they'll have a person there who's their compliance officer or their data officer who is basically has to run their policies, has to react to things. If there's a data leak, there's a whole team that has to do that compliance-wise, log it here, log it there, fill out these. So there's whole careers in cybersecurity that aren't technical that can be about compliance as well. But it's a great area to get into. Now, so the big question is, so some of you might be thinking about this, and it's always like, which one are you naturally drawn to? So some people will say like, and I have consultations with people about careers all the time, and they'll say, well, which one is most easy to get a job in? Or which one is most guaranteed? And I'll go, well, nothing's guaranteed. They'll go, I know, but which is the most? They'll go, which one is the most paid? Or whatever. Those kind of questions always come up. And I'll always say, whichever one you're most drawn to is the one, that will probably be the easiest to get a job in because you'll enjoy doing it. If you say like, well, data analytics, I don't really like it, but I'm going to study it because I think it's the better one for a career. But I'm more drawn to web development. You need to do web development because you're going to build a great portfolio as a web developer. You're going to stick with it. Motivation will show through in the interview. You might get a job as a data analyst. After 2 years, you'll hate it. You'll leave. So you need to think which one you're drawn to as well because you need to be thinking long-term here. This is not just about doing a course or something like that. It's about your career for the next few years. So that would be my advice with that. But what you need to do, first of all, just like they were speaking about in the last presentation, start at the beginning. So you just need to learn basic skills. Maybe watch a few videos first. Check which one are you in before diving into one area. Start at the beginning. Do a course, with us maybe, but even with someone else. But start learning basic skills to see which one you're drawn to. If you find that you're a few weeks into it or you do something and you're really hating it, stop. Reverse, go back. Try another one. Then suddenly you might like that. They are all different, okay? If you're learning data analytics and say, this isn't for me, you go back and do web development, it's different. The whole feel of it is different. So, it mightn't be that you just say, well, that's it for IT. Go and try a different one if you really are motivated to work in the area. Once you know which area you want to be in, then you want to build a portfolio, okay? Because you want to be able to demonstrate your work. When you're interviewing for these roles, sometimes they'll have a technical interview. They'll ask you technical questions. They might get you a project to do. So you want to have a portfolio you can show, especially if you're in the UX design. You want to be saying, look, this is what I can do, buddy. Here you go. And in web development, there are websites. You can GitHub is one. I don't know why it's called that, but you can put your portfolio on there, link to your work, show them what you can do. So you want to build a portfolio, and it's also building up your technical competence, right? And then prepare for technical interviews. Once you've got a certain something, you're building your portfolio, you prepare for technical interviews. And there's lots of different places you can do that. You can do it with us. There's a great website called, I think, something Cafe. I've actually forgotten, but there's different websites you can go to where they'll ask you tech questions and you can get the answers, test yourself, and that type of thing. And then build a network, okay? So say you said, right, I want to be a UX designer. I've just done a course in it. I've got 2 designs. I'm applying for entry-level roles. Then you need to start building a network. What I advise people to do is go on LinkedIn or somewhere and find 20 people who are doing the job that you'd like to do, okay? And just send them a message and say, hey, I'm really motivated to be a UX designer. I see you've had a good career in it. Would you mind having a quick call just to talk about your career, giving us any advice in how to break into this industry, And they'd really want to be a rotter, not to get back to you and say no. You'll find people will be nice because you're not asking for anything. You're not asking for a job. You're just asking for advice. If you do that with 20 people, 40 people, whatever it might be, you've built up this network. And in 5 years, it might pay off that you're in a role or you're looking. They might go, hang on, this has just come up. Maybe I'll call back Roisin or John or whoever it was and put them in touch with whatever. Or they might say, actually, I know someone in this other company. There's a graduate program going on right now. But what you're doing is you're creating your own look, okay? You're obviously applying for jobs as well, but you're building this network of advisors, mentors in the industry you want to break into to get this advice. But also, the other reason you're doing it is because it's like, hey, give us a job, mate, or help me out later. Or, you want to have this network of people, okay? So it's just a good thing to do. And by the way, not everyone does it. And if you are applying for a job, always call them, okay, or message them first. You want your CV to stand out. I'm not here to talk about CVs. I could talk about them all day, but you want to stand out when you're applying, okay? So always call them and say, hi, I'm really motivated to get involved with this. This is what I've been doing. What's the company culture there like? I'm about to apply. Is there anything I should know? You're just doing that so when your CV comes in, they go, oh, okay, I know them. They're okay. I'll put them through. So it's just another bit of advice on when you're reaching out. Sorry, I went a bit off track there. Now, let's look at the tech skills gap. So specifically in Ireland, I was going to look at the data analytics example just to show you about the opportunity. But obviously, I could have picked any of them. There's opportunities in them all, but I just picked out data because I'd be here all day if I talked about them all. So look, this was according to IBM that advertised roles for data analysts have grown 28% over the last 3 years. That's globally. So that's a huge increase in this type of job, which didn't really exist 10 years ago, If you think about it, when I was in college, I think we were getting our first email addresses, So you think how fast things are moving and what my daughter's tech she'll be using in 20 years. But anyway, if you look at, and also on LinkedIn, you've got data analytics is third in their jobs, in people applying for jobs, in emerging jobs. So this all sounds really good, okay? It's a growing area. Fantastic. Let's get involved. But, and there's Ms. von der Leyen, who basically, she announced that they estimate that there'll be 484,000 unfilled data analytics positions across Europe by 2025, which is in 3 years. So what that's telling you is these job ads are going to go out in places like Ireland, not the UK, not in the EU, but obviously in the Netherlands, they'll go out, Germany. They'll be looking for data analysts, and there won't be enough data analysts to fill those jobs, enough people with those skills. Okay, so that's a big opportunity for people to train in those areas, and it's a big problem for companies to find them. I also know that, in areas, there's, like even in cybersecurity, you're looking for data analysts. Let's look at Ireland specifically. So Skills Ireland predicted a shortfall in IT skills of 146,000 by 2022, which is this year. So according to them, out that window now, there are 143,000 unfilled positions that they're trying to fill, that they cannot find specific technical staff to fill, okay? And these are good jobs, right, that have good career progression, but you do need to have some skills to go into them. And they're also saying that there's 8,000 tech jobs coming on stream annually. I think it's much more than that. Me and my team are tracking it every week, every month. We contact companies who put new jobs on. But if you look at Enterprise Ireland on their website, their Twitter feed, you'll see companies announcing, we have new jobs in this area. By the way, it's a good place if you are looking. If you see that happening, go straight into their HR and say, hey, saw the great announcement, love to talk to you about my profile or whatever. And they're all in areas like this, data analytics, web development, software testing, and all of that. Now, what's causing this skills gap? So I talked about this big gap that the EU are saying we're going to have, especially in data analytics. Well, this is a diagram that's trying to explain it. Now, it looks like a piece of DNA if any of you watch the crime mystery shows and all of that, but it's not a piece of DNA, actually. The green line is education and moving forward with new topics that they're teaching in universities and schools. And the blue line is actually technology innovation. So things being invented. And you think something's invented and colleges aren't teaching it because the invention happens too quick. Colleges need to catch up to teach it. Artificial intelligence comes out and the people who are at the forefront of it have gone so far ahead that universities and their syllabuses need to catch up again. I remember I used to work at a company called IQPC, and one of our biggest conferences we put on was email marketing, how it works and how it can benefit you. And it was the biggest event they had. We did them all over America. It was an American company. And that was when emails came out. And companies were like, should we start emailing our staff, our customers? And they weren't sure. If you think about that way, to now, it's just like, could you imagine something like that? But at the time, that was a big breakthrough in technology. We're going to send a letter. We're going to just type it into this machine. But nowadays, obviously, tech is moving really fast and education is needing to catch up. And you get social pain when the tech moves ahead of education too quickly, because the companies are saying, we want data analysts, and people are saying, well, we can't do that yet, but we want to get hired. And they're saying, come back when you can do that. That's basically what it means, okay? So you get unemployed people having to catch up, reskill, to catch up with what the companies want. And that's when you get a tech skills gap. I'm speaking specifically about the tech industry now. So that's what that means, and that's really what's causing it. So what's the solution? Well, there's many things, but I'd be a fool not to talk about our solution today, which is education and how Dublin Coding School could help. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Dublin Coding School now and what we do and who we are. We've got a great marketing team. We've got this fantastic logo. I really like it. I was always trying to figure out what does that mean? It's kind of like as a diver goes underneath as in the code or whatever, anyway. So our courses, they're short and intensive. So they're sometimes 2 months, 3 months, practical, hands-on. So it's not, it is technical. It's not theory-based. It's very technical. We are focused on the jobs market. So look, if we see a lot of jobs being advertised in a certain area, we're going to put a course on in that. If we see that certain jobs are changing the technologies they're using, we're going to change our course. So, for instance, our automation testing course used to have one technology on it. I'm not going to bore you what they were now. We saw the jobs market had changed here, was different in some other areas. So we suddenly put on another 2 technologies onto it to be up to date. They're live and interactive. So you have a lecturer with you 100% of the time. Some competitors, I'm not going to mention them here, might sell you a package and you're watching a video. You can ask questions after. We want a human to be with you all the time, and we want that to be professional. So I'll get to who the lecturers are in a moment. And they're online, and we might have classrooms soon, but actually our students are more happy online at the moment, so that's where we are. Who are they for? So adults who want to change their career. So if you want to change your career, you want to get involved in the jobs market, in tech, that's really what we're all about. We train people to an entry level, but if you do want to learn something more advanced, we do one-to-one courses and we can create one for you. So we can go as high as you want, but our general courses that you can book are for beginners and for intermediates who are looking to change their careers. And look, we've had people from all sorts of careers changing. We've construction, hospitality. We recently had a butcher actually train as a web developer. So that was a huge career change for him. And we'll get to an example in a moment about one of our really successful career changes from last year. The courses, as I said, it's data analytics, cybersecurity, web development, software testing, UX design. We also do IT for managers. So if you're here representing a company, you want to train your managers or your staff, there's that. And we do agile as well. That's project management. But these are the core courses. And the lecturers are from these types of places. So we have the data lead at TikTok teaching data analytics, ex-Facebook. He is a Workhuman, QA testing, Bank of Ireland. We have the UX design lead from Hewlett-Packard. So you're learning from top pros how they are working in the workplace. We have a policy not to have academics who are not working in companies or have never done this in the real world teach, because not that that's a bad thing. Universities, do a good job, but we want to be very different. We're very much about the workplace and learning from professionals. It's vocational training. After the courses, we have a career centre, so we'll help you with your CV, your LinkedIn, which I kind of mentioned a bit about that earlier. Help you prepare for interviews, how to execute in an interview, how to answer questions, how to be ready. And also we can share your profile with partner companies who might have open roles or internships. So we partner with companies around Ireland who have open roles or internships. We've partnered with Google. I don't know if that's just switched off, but we do share those profiles of our graduates with those companies and try and place them as best we can. So I think that's almost everything from me. So look, thank you very much, everyone. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be over here.